Good day, everyone. Thank you for coming to our Rapid Housing webinar series hosted by Feris Tech. My name is Carina Guzman, and I am the Ottawa licensee for Feris. I'd like to tell you a little bit about how I began with Feris. I am a land developer here in Ottawa. I mostly focus on infill developments within the multifamily space. And in my business, I really like to push the status quo. And essentially, I like to come up with innovative ideas to offer a variety of housing types for my builds and for my infill developments. And this is what really attracts me to the Feris modular system, which is essentially a modular system that allows me to still continue with my innovative design build projects. But of course, it also allows me to meet other aspects that are very dear to my heart, which is essentially the energy efficiency component of construction. And of course, reducing the amount of waste and reducing the greenhouse emissions that we tend to do with infill developments. And for those of you who are in the housing space, you're probably very well familiar with the Rapid Housing Initiatives and many other grants and programs that are now available to us in order to increase the supply of housing all over Canada. And so this is why we're bringing to you now this new webinar series, is to help you learn about who we are, Feris Tech, and also help you understand how we can help you meet your housing supply needs. So to start off, I'm going to give you a little bit of background into the national landscape of where we are today. Most of you here in the audience are probably in the housing industry in some capacity or other. So you're probably really aware of the housing shortage that is happening nationally. And as a land developer, I can tell you that I've seen a lot of the barriers that are happening, and I'm sure you're probably experiencing as well in your individual fields. It's essentially the variety of reasons why housing hasn't been able to keep up with the demand. And there are so many reasons why this is happening. And of course, I've only listed a few here, but some of those could be inefficiencies in construction. We're all very aware of the shortage in the wood supply and the quality of wood supply. A big one for me as a land developer has been the approval process within the municipality. That's a big pain point for a lot of us. It's just the time and the amount of work that's required to get our permits in place in order to proceed with our projects. Of course, land availability is another one. The availability of land has become a big constraint. Here in Ottawa, so much so that the city is even expanding the boundary to allow for satellite neighborhoods to develop. And this is the same case scenario in most urban centers, where we're looking at ways to maximize the land that we already have in order to fit more and become innovative in the way that we are creating the housing supply nationally. With COVID, we've also seen a lot of changes in how people want to live. So you're probably seeing in your perspective areas that people are now really paying attention as to what they're going to select for their housing accommodations. And now, as land developers and construction experts, we're looking at ways to meet that demand, right? So offering various different types of development has now become key into how we want to develop in the future. And for this reason, most of you have now realized that there's a lot of initiatives happening nationwide. A lot of it you've probably heard of by now, which is the Rapid Housing Initiative, which is essentially a partnership between the Government of Canada and CMHC. And of course, there's a ton of other initiatives, grants, programs that are being created by cities all over Canada to increase the number of supply in housing all over Canada. And when I really started looking into it, I realized that there's a common denominator that is happening throughout many of these programs. And it's essentially the prefabricated modular construction. And for me as a land developer, that's really what has attracted me to the Feris team, which is essentially, that's what they are. It's a modular manufacturing, and it allows you to meet most, if not all, of the requirements under these programs. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. So to give you a little bit of understanding, most of you probably know by now what modular is, but in case you don't, under the CMHC, which is the standard definition of modular housing, it's essentially housing units that are partially or fully constructed off-site. So why modular construction? As we have seen, there is a big push now for modular construction, and not to say that all of modular construction is equivalent, because as we know, if you're building with wood construction and you're trying to meet the energy efficiencies that are required by many of these programs, well, you have to do a lot of work in order to make that happen. Right? So there is a big push now in the industry to understand more about modular construction and how we can apply the new paneling system that incorporates all of the items that are required to meet the energy efficiency without all the labor intensive that is required with the regular wood construction that is happening today. Another big component is that we're seeing in this industry that everyone is doing things the way that they've always been. But we know that we can't continue in that way if we really want to push for a variety of housing types and push for the reduction of greenhouse emissions that we need to meet in Canada. So there's a big push for modular construction, not only by municipalities, of course, by a lot of the programs that are happening here. And now we're seeing in the industry that this is becoming a trend and is becoming something that is viable for many different projects, whether you're in the private sector, in the non-for-profit sector, or you're in the commercial sector, whatever it may be, that you're looking for different solutions to that typical conventional wood construction. And to finish off, this is exactly the reason why I like Feris Buildtech, and this is why I joined the Feris team. It's essentially because it allows me as a land developer and somebody who is looking into innovating the space and allowing for pushing those boundaries where we can really figure out ways to maximize the land that we have and come up with new solutions to create more affordable housing and, of course, create new communities in a way that is going to last for generations. The modular manufacturing system is now something that's able to allow me to still be creative in what I do day to day as a land developer, whether that is through a multifamily complex, row houses, single homes, whatever the case might be that I want to do in my profession. Because the product allows me to design any way I can, there is no barriers to what it is that I want to do in any of my projects, and I can apply that easily in any future project that I have. It also allows me not to worry about the wood construction and the quality and the amount of time that it takes for that to happen. It also allows me to build year-round if I wanted to. There's different systems that Feris Buildtech integrates very nicely that we're in Canada. It allows us to do that, which right now is it's a hindrance for us. As we all know, many of you understand that climate is a big impact to our ability to build, of course, year-round. This system allows us to do that. Of course, again, accessibility for many of these programs is a big key component. I can keep designing my product and whatever it is that I'd like to do with accessibility requirements because the product allows me to build that, integrate that into my design specifically. then it's going to help me meet the energy efficiency component, which is something that is very dear to my heart. I really care about the way that we are doing things in the industry and how we can possibly reduce some of that carbon monoxide that we produce, especially in the urban core when we are doing some infill developments. And this is something that we need to pay attention to as the country is trying to reduce that greenhouse emissions that we are creating on a year-to-year basis. Of course, this is also applicable completely in residential, commercial, or industrial builds. And as well, it allows me to use it in any rehabilitation and conversion projects as well. So as a land developer, I really like the product. I see it fit. And I think that this is something that we should really pay attention to, because it's becoming more and more necessary for us to look at different solutions in the industry and how we need to move that wheel towards more energy efficient solutions in how we build our communities. Thank you.